What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Please follow my Instagram at Russo Lifts, just in case something happens to this YouTube channel. You can follow, message, and you can watch my daily story content on Instagram. I'll see you there. What's up everyone, it's Russo. I hope everyone is doing well. Feeling psychedelic today again in the woods, and with the coronavirus going on, I'm incubating myself in the woods as well. Today I'm going to be going over the topic video of blasting and cruising versus cycling, whether that comes to SARMs, steroids, HRT, the whole 9 yards. Should you continue to stay on blast and cruise, or should you come off completely, trying to restart your HPTA? Pros and cons of both. I'm going to give my personal opinion on the subject. I do want to see some participation in the comment section about this because it's debatable. There is argument of points on both sides that I completely understand. Again, I'm going to give my point of view, how it applies to me personally, as well as some other points of view. But feel free to leave your personal input down below, and I hope I really don't get eaten by all these fucking gnats. But essentially, to explain it, for someone who has no idea, cycling is when you would go on a cycle, let's say 8 to 24 weeks, you would get your results, then you would come completely off, restart your HPTA, and you would see what you keep. You would detox, being completely off, having it completely out of your system. Blasting and cruising would be, you would do, let's say, an 8-week blast. So you would stay on a HRT dosage in your cruise, so you would still have exogenous hormones keeping your levels stable, keeping them constantly elevated. And then every once in a while, when you're after chasing gains or you need to create a look real quick, you would up the doses for a certain amount of time. You would get the results you wanted, and then you would go back into your cruise. Now, there's pros and cons of both, so let's just relate it to my personal bodybuilding journey that I've documented here on YouTube. So I threw up some of the original first SARM cycle videos, my first ever experiment documented on YouTube, the first ever time I joined the dark side. So go check that out if you're looking for some good cringe, or you're looking for some mints of how I used to be when I was 18. But that was a 5-year-old video. Back then, I did the cycling approach. So in my personal mind, even at that age, I knew I was nowhere near, the amount of lean body mass I could hold peak natty. So I knew that at my age, my HPTA would restart really quickly, and SARMs at the, experiments I was running was not going to fully shut off my HPTA to begin with. So I deemed cycling as the way to go, because basically, if you guys have followed me, my entire years on YouTube, I really didn't regress that much when I would cycle. Again, I would go in, get massive strength gains, focus on central nervous system most of the time when I first started off, and then I would PCT, come completely off, and I would keep probably about, I'd say 75% of it, only about a 25 to probably like 40% loss, and that's because the higher synthetic androgens that I just cannot create naturally giving me that extra strength or those extra reps. But as far as holding the lean body mass, my stock hormones could support the mass. As I got more advanced, as I went more down the rabbit hole, I ran into the issue of carrying more lean body mass than I can naturally hold. Now, people are going to argue with me all day. My personal opinion, I could naturally, if I never touched anything, I would look solid at around 195 pounds. Now, I think I'm above that right now. Being, I'm like 240 right now on HRT. I'm coming down. I decided to go to a complete HRT dosage until all this corona bullshit is over. But let's say I cut down on androgens, I'd probably sit around 200 to 205. So, that is at an absolute stage weight in my opinion. I think I could rest really looking good around 215. So solid 15, 20 pounds over what I can naturally hold. That is when I decided
because of my lifestyle, because of how, you know, I'm trying to compete, I did not want to go through the battle of number one, coming completely off and trying to restart my HPTA and going through the stress of that, having my hormones bounce all over the place, and then utilizing SERMs, which Clomid, Nolvadex, you know, they're not these miracle things that just bring your natural test back on. Like, you are still paying the cost of different side effects. You know, Nolvadex is very liver toxic. Clomid is what's linked to depression and suicides in bodybuilding, in my opinion, and I made a full video discussing depression and bodybuilding and PCTing and stuff. I will link that in a pinned comment below if you guys are interested in that sensitive topic. But, you know, PCT is not this, oh, you're gonna come completely off. It's a tricky scenario. Each PCT needs to be, you know, molded to the type of cycle you're doing, the way your blood's looking, and all these different variables. And to go through that amount of stress, as well as try and kickstart my HPTA, which in my opinion, a full HPTA recovery, which I might try and document on this channel. Like, when I turn in my late 20s, I'm gonna try and fully re-kickstart my HPTA and see what happens, you know, when, you know, my bodybuilding thing is over and done with. I do want to try and document that, but my personal opinion, I think it would take 8 months for a full PCT, full HPTA recovery, and obviously that's with keeping the stimulation of the HCG protocol that I have always kept in place to maintain, keep the nuts on, keep the lights on, and, you know, have my nuts constantly stimulated even though the exogenous androgens are there. Personally, my balls, you know, not to get too much information here, but my balls have never shrunken and gone back inside of me. I've always been super on, you know, fixated, calculated with keeping my HCG constant to keep my balls obviously not at peak capacity, peak fullness, but to keep them there, to not fully murder my HPTA connection with my brain, at least attempt to theoretically, right? So I deemed that blasting and cruising right now, since I'm trying to do classic physique pretty soon, is probably the better bet. Again, when I would PCT and come off at this size, again, I do say that cycling, when I first began, when I wasn't as serious about what I wanted to do, if I didn't know, like, if this bodybuilding thing was going to work out, I was much into cycling because, again, I was under my, what I deemed I could hold naturally, which I think, if you look at actual pro natural level bodybuilders with the most elite genetics, which I don't have, you know, they have 205 stage weights at my height, 200-pound stage weights at my height. That's what I have. I have around probably 205 on minimum gear, let alone if I did a full, you know, traditional gear contest blast or did a couple contests traditional gear blast. You know, I'm already above that basically, so blasting and cruising makes more sense to me. But cycling back then, to be able to walk away, to be able to have that HPTA kick back and rebound is important. It also matters what age you are, as far as, do I cycle, do I blast and cruise? If you're, you know, over the age of 26, your HPTA was not going to rebound like if you were younger than that. It could. Again, it all depends on baseline blood work, individual reaction to the PEDs, as well as, you know, stress. A lot of things go into natural testosterone that, you know, I could talk for hours about, and that could go into how cortisol affects it, how the sedentary lifestyle affects natural testosterone, how natural testosterone isn't even comparable to HRT, because a natural testosterone, it's secreted in the morning in that fasted state. So it's really important to, you know, have that secretion in the morning, but it's like a spike. It's like you might get 2 or 3 spikes of test a day. HRT, however, is a constant androgen level. It's not a natural spike. HRT is a constant estering taper off. So even at HRT, which is 165 to like 180 a week, is an advantage over most people's natural testosterone, unless you're like 800 plus, right? So keep that into consideration when, you know, you trying to restart your HPTA. It's tricky. it's not as easy as just taking Clomid. You need to be at the right body fat percentage, be at the right stress level, not stressing yourself out, getting the right amount of sleep, good fats, and still training hard, giving the body the stimulus, you know, to put it in that environment. All those factors really matter when it comes to PCTing. And if you're gonna do all of that just to go on cycle, like right after, you know, again, I'm not telling people to pick which one, I'm just, you know, giving the pros and cons of both. But cycling is an old school method, right? In my opinion, you know, back in the old days, there are advantages, which I'm going to go into, but back in the old days of the, you know, the Arnold era, all those guys, they didn't really understand, you know, what goes on biochemically with the androgens as much as we do now. Some of them did, not all of them, and they did the tapering method, which the tapering method can work. I definitely can see it working, but again, when you know, try and restart your HPTA, you're going to run into all these issues, and if you're going to shut it right back off sooner, in my opinion, you're just throwing your body out of whack for no reason. But relaying back to Arnold and them, they would do the tapering up, tapering down method, and then that was cycling. So they were big on coming completely off. Now the advantage of coming completely off is you would give your HDL, which is your good cholesterol, and we could argue about this as well, but you would give your HDL a chance to rebound. The biggest thing you notice with TRT and HRT users is that no matter what, you're creating a more androgenic environment in the body, you're going to suffer as far as HDL is concerned. It's not, you know, it's not present with everyone, but it's a reoccurring trend that really shows that HDL takes a hit. So if you're prone to heart disease, definitely take that into consideration. So you're still putting yourself in a compromised blood work environment to where it's a strain. Now, you could create a strain with your alcoholic problems, you could create a strain with your sugar intake problems. Just saying, that is something to take into consideration, whereas cycling, you're coming completely off and you're hopefully successfully, if you are successfully able to restart your HPTA to above a 600 level, you know, you're giving your body a nice detoxation period to resensitize to the lower androgen level and to come back on cycle. But again, a lot of variables. Like with cycling, it's like you're gonna take 4 steps forward on cycle, and then when you come off, you're gonna take 3 steps backwards. So you only took 4 steps forward. If you're blasting and cruising, again, depending how aggressive you get, and obviously you're compromising your health more as you're cruising higher, as you're trying to maintain lean body masses higher. But again, this is bodybuilding, this is like, you know, race car driving, it's extreme. People want to see it pushed to the limits, and that's what bodybuilding and race car driving and all these other extreme sports are about. Well, bodybuilding is a pageant, but, you know, extreme lifestyle that people, you know, are interested in is about. But as you blast and cruise, you can take, let's say, 4 steps forward, only 1 or 2 steps backwards. So you're still continuously progressing more. And then, like I said, when it gets to the point where you're above what your natural FFMI, we can use the FFMI scale, which is 25, although I've seen natties at 26, 27 is possible, and some people can't even get to 25 with the stock hormones they have, so it's kind of like a bullshit type graph, but we'll just use the FFMI of 25. Let's say you are close to that. So you are always, if you PCT come completely off, gonna go back to whatever your stock hormones can hold. So if you're like way up there and you're really trying to maintain a physique, and hopefully you have something going for this physique you're maintaining, like I said, you're actually getting something out of it. You know, I had a previous rant about this in this woods next to this weird ass tree, but you need to get something out of it. Then blasting and cruising makes a lot more sense, costs a lot more, and you're straining yourself a lot more, but at the end of the day, you're not yo-yoing with your emotions, you're not yo-yoing with all your hormone levels, and you're not, you know, going through this horrible process to restart your HPTA, and your body's like coming back to homeostasis, and like boom, next cycle comes and it's just back to getting fucked up. So it's, in my opinion, better if you're going to be constantly with the androgens to just not stress the body out, just lower the androgens exogenously and give your body less stress, and to theoretically keep the lights on for fertility and possible HPTA restart with HCG later down the line if you want. And this has been documented in European medical journals of people abusing gear for years and them being able to successfully start their HPTA. It's all dependent on if the connection to the brain and the nuts is lost or not. And again, that is a roll of the dice you play when you play your cards if you go down the gear road. So I don't want these stupid people in the comments to say it's not possible, because I've read it in literature, not just like on forums, in literature. It's possible. And these are like real abusers, like people who abuse more than me, that they've been able to successfully do it. So it's completely freaking possible. However, there's the other flip of the coin where your HPTA is permanently lost and you're stuck on TRT for life, in my opinion. You know, eventually I think HRT would benefit a lot of people later in life anyways, because most people's test dips real hard after 26, but that's a different argument, that's a different rant. But you can see the pros and the cons. So do you want to detoxify completely, give your HPTA full recovery, and, you know, walk away from the gear, keep a lot of the gains that you could originally keep, like build up to your natural baseline, I guess, faster, you know, risk it as far as, you know, your HPTA health? Or if you're trying to build a super enhanced physique, or you're trying to compete or something, or you get a bit too carried away, sucked into it, I think blasting and cruising is the better method, in my opinion, and it's going to cause a lot less issues. Like, especially with something like acne, you're not going to notice. Again, I'm different because I had a horrible experiment go wrong where I cranked my DHT levels to an insane thing because I was trying out some compound that no one's ever tried before, which was S23 at the time. So I'm not going to use my skin as an example, but I had clear skin using steroids until that cycle, but I'll get away from that. Basically what I was saying and trying to say is that the acne pops up with the clomid, the PCT after the fluctuation is when the other side effects start to rear their heads. So it's not a, you know, it's not a free get out of jail free card with the PCT either, like people are saying you need to get off. It's really depends on blood work. Do you need a break? What is your goals at the time? And those are some argumentative factors to think about when it comes to cycling versus blasting and cruising. I think most people, in my opinion, when you're starting off in the noobs, can get away with cycling, but I do see really advanced level dudes who do not, you know, get away from the bodybuilding lifestyle. They are one-trick ponies as far as this is their thing, and they are still cycling, and they are still doing that yo-yo effect, when in my opinion, if their blood work looks good on an HRT dosage and they still have an HCG, you know, fertility, you know, keep the fertility going protocol going, why do you want to stress out your body, lose gains that you're spending all the fucking time in the gym for, just to go back and forth on shit that you have to make up as far as like the steps forward and the steps backward? That is what I don't understand, and that stems from people wanting to be old school and not looking at it, you know, from an unbiased, neutral perspective of the new things out there. Now with TRT and HRT becoming more prevalent in the world, I think the cycling thing will start to, again, you'll figure out that, you know, you might want to cruise after, depending on how your HPTA recovers. But in the beginning, definitely would stick with cycling, especially if you don't want to go down the road all the way. But yeah, that's personally my opinion. Right now, again, I was cycling for the longest time, and I have decided to cruise the past almost 2 years, I think, a little under 2 years, I did actually almost come completely off for a while. I have to document it on my timestamps. I think it was only for a month though, it wasn't that long, but I normally go down to an HRT dosage, which I've gone down to right now because of this virus bullshit. So that is my opinion on blasting and cruising versus cycling. Leave yours down below, and if you are stopping in, I hope you guys subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video.